James and Emma are now in close proximity, in the office. This has caused the find tag to buzz and flashlight, alerting not only James and Emma, but also the authorized person on his laptop. The solution is so smart that it can identify serial violators and alert authority.
Governor, are you saying that if somebody is threatened with arrest or, they receive a letter with Ohio Revised Code cited that they should ignore it? Or, they receive a letter.
This is a question for Dr. Acton. This is Jake Zuckerman from the Ohio Capital Journal.
Good afternoon, Governor. Jeff Reddick with ABC6 here in Columbus.
Kevin Landers, WBNS Columbus.
Jim Province with the Toledo Blade.
Governor Noah Blundo, Hannah News Service.
This is Laura Hancock from Cleveland.com.
Jack Windsor, WMFD TV in Mansfield. My question is for Governor DeWine.
Hey everybody, it's Everett with Ohio for Freedom. I think it's pretty safe to assume that Mike Dewine is not a member of the Jack Windsor fan club. Did you notice his attitude from the other reporters? And as soon as Jack says his name, he's going down this little demonic little smirk. And anyway, this is the first of a two-part series entitled Contact Tracing, Mike Dewine's Trojan Horse. And this first episode, we are going to deal primarily with the attitude, the condescension, the arrogance of the people that are foisting this upon the state of Ohio. The second installment is going to get way more techie. It's going to get way more scary, but that's how we're going to break it down. And before we get started, I want to say thank you so much to everybody that viewed my last video, Mike Dewine's almost public endorsement of Hillary Clinton. As I'm speaking to you, that's up to 26,000 views, which is for a redneck soul singer in Cincinnati. That's pretty amazing. But that tells me that there are people in Ohio that are genuinely concerned about our state. All of these videos are posted on Ohio for Freedom on Facebook and Ohio for Freedom on YouTube. Nobody knows it's on YouTube, so they all have like about a half of a view, but hopefully that'll change. But let's get into Jack's question, and I want to please ask you to notice two things. I want you to notice Mike Dewine's body language, because it really tells you a lot about what's going on inside of him, his attitude about Ohio citizens, and just legitimately wanting to know what the heck is going on. But notice his body language, and if you would, notice as soon as Jack says WMFD, Mansfield, if you got the right device, you can hear this. And when he's finished with the question, he'll wait 5 seconds, and then he'll look up real defiant. And it just tells you what's going on. But the question itself is what's really important, and that is, he's asking, contact tracing, is it voluntary? Is it mandatory? The quarantine, isolation, Ohio Revised Code. Let's take a look.
Jack Windsor, WMFD TV in Mansfield. My question is for Governor DeWine. Governor, you've said that contact tracing is voluntary, but it appears there needs to be a distinction between contact tracing, quarantine, and isolation. WMFD TV is in receipt of communication from both the Ashtabula Department of Health and Delaware General Health District. Both those communications call for non-infected family members to be quarantined. The letters also cite the Ohio Revised Code and threaten legal action for noncompliance for both the patient being isolated and the non-infected family being forced to quarantine. Can you define contact tracing, isolation, quarantine, what's voluntary, what's mandatory, and how that might coincide with medical exemptions for healthcare reasons or medical reasons and religious reasons in the state of Ohio?
Jack, I'll have to find out what's going on in Ashtabula and Delaware. I don't have any information on that.
He doesn't like being asked questions, does he? His arrogancy is too big, too important to field little questions like this. But the question is voluntary or involuntary. And when Jack mentions that he's got correspondence from people that have literally been threatened in letters and citing the Ohio Revised Code, basically saying, we can lock you up if we want to, that's a really, really serious question. And then I'm going to play Mike Dewine's answer to that. But you'll notice that the first thing that he says is, it's nothing new. And along with that clip, I'm going to play back-to-back 3 clips from a webinar that I attended, virtually attended last week, sponsored by the state of Ohio on contact tracing. And it had a panelist from ODH. It had some guy that was with a tech firm that deals with governments all over the country and all over the world. And then State Senator Burke, who is probably the most snide, condescending person I've ever encountered. But all of these people, the moment they get the floor, within the first few seconds, they all have to say their version of, oh, it's nothing new. It's nothing new. It's nothing new. Take a look.
And the tracing, by the way, by health workers is nothing new.
The idea what contact tracing is, and as Christina pointed out, it's been around for quite a while.
Contact tracing is not new.
With the human contact tracing, it's a proven technique, as Christina was talking about. It's been around for a very long time.
Oh, it's nothing new. Does it kind of sound like maybe they've been coached on what they're supposed to say? By the way, how you like my necklace? I'm going to explain that in a little bit. But yeah, it's nothing new. So that's why we're hiring 1,700 people for this program that's nothing new. And by the way, how much are we spending on this? Do you know? Do you want to know? Do you want me to tell you? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to let Senator Burke tell you that in a little bit. And I think your jaw is going to hit the ground. But let's let Mike Dewine really give the full answer to Jack's question. And you're going to notice he's going to dance around. He's going to make it seem like it's no big deal, but he's never going to fully answer the question. And then he's going to do a Tucker Carlson reboot. He's going to throw it to Amy Acton because Dr. Acton can explain it a lot better than I can. And then guess what's going to happen? Amy Acton is going to contradict her boss.
Can you define contact tracing, isolation, quarantine, what's voluntary, what's mandatory, and how that might coincide with medical exemptions for healthcare reasons or medical reasons and religious reasons in the state of Ohio?
Jack, I'll have to find out what's going on in Ashtabula and Delaware. I don't have any information on that. When we talked about voluntary, simply means that someone who has the virus, they'll get a call. Maybe Dr. Acton can explain it better than I can, but my understanding, they get a call.
You see what he just did? Folks, this is a dodge. This is a bob and weave. Oh, I don't know what's going on in Ashtabula and Delaware County. I'll look into that. But and then his arrogancy is kind enough to take time out of his busy schedule to define for us little people the meaning of the word voluntary. I'm so grateful for that, aren't you? And voluntary means they'll get a call, okay? But there's a little more to it, and here comes Amy Acton, and she's gonna let the cat out of the bag.
And we do quarantine. It is a law. It can be mandated. And we do quarantine. It is a law. It can be mandated.
Whoa, she just kind of contradicted the big cheese, didn't she? She's contradicted Mike Dewine. She's played the cards right out there in the open. How is Mike gonna deal with this? Did anybody else spot it? Well, Jack Windsor spotted it. Take a look.
Seems there's some conflicting information there. So, Governor, are you saying that if somebody is threatened with arrest or, they receive a letter with Ohio Revised Code cited that they should ignore it? Because it sounds like you said that, but it sounds like Dr. Acton said the laws are on the books.
I'm going to get the data and look at what is occurring in those two counties. I don't know what's occurring in those counties. The doctor has expressed it, I think, very well, that the initial contact, the discussion is a voluntary. People don't have to do it, but I think most Ohioans are going to do it. But the laws that we're talking about here are very, very old. These are not new. And you shouldn't imply or let people think that these are new laws or that this is a new practice.
Governor, are you saying that if somebody is threatened with arrest or, they receive a letter,
I blew up the clip as much as I could of Mike Dewine rolling his eyes, okay? And to me, this is kind of funny on one level. And man, it is very, very, very serious on another level. And if you think about it, Mike DeWine is rolling his eyes when a reporter, a legitimate reporter from a television station here in Ohio, is asking point blank, should people be worried about being threatened with arrest if they don't cooperate with this contact tracing? And that's his response. He's rolling his eyes. Folks, this is really, really concerning to me.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate you having me on and taking the time. It's certainly a different perspective than what Christina and Rory brought to the table. It's a probably less informed view. Most legislators just don't have any idea what contact tracing is.
Okay, I needed a minute to cool down. This gets me worked up, but Captain Chrome Dome there that you just heard from, he is a state senator, Dave Burke, and he was one of the 3 panelists on that webinar that I sat in on. I don't think I have ever encountered anybody that comes across more snide and condescending than this cat. I mean, it's just off the chart. His whole angle was how stupid, how buffoonish, how hayseed hick all of the other legislators are, because they don't have a clue. They don't know what contact tracing is. You know, the other 2 panelists, they were okay. They didn't drop any bombshells. Folks, this stuff isn't complicated. It's just people want to snoop the heck all over your lives. There's nothing complicated about it. But every time this Senator Burke spoke, it was about how silly and how stupid and how unenlightened these people are. I'm going to play you one more clip from him so that you have an idea of the unique perspective that he brings to the table as a business owner, as someone who's engaged with the Ohio Department of Health. Just pick up on the attitude that these people have as they look down on us little people as they attempt to foist this program on the Ohio citizenry.
And one of the things I think that legislators need to understand, and again, I'm in a unique position as a business owner, as a healthcare provider, as Christina knows, somebody who's engaged the Department of Health for nearly a decade now. Most people don't start there, right? They start with Fox News or MSNBC or something that their colleagues heard or told them. It generally doesn't start with fact. And so when you approach the angle, I guess, for the people that are watching, and you start a discussion, whether it's with your state rep or state senator, just remember, they probably have no idea what you're talking about, has never encountered it before. And the first 2 speakers probably engaged more information than you would encounter your entire legislative career on contact tracing.
I think that clip speaks for itself. This is one special, important guy. I got 3 things out of what he just said. I'm really important, way more important than anybody else. To everybody else in the legislature is a clod, is a buffoon, is a hayseed hick. And then they have no idea what contact tracing is. And if you are ever frustrated with the Ohio legislature, just understand this is what they have to deal with. I'm going to play Billy Cunningham and Nino Vitelli talking about this. But see, there are some folks in our state, some legislators, that are concerned about these massive invasions of privacy and have tried to put some checks and balances on it. And DeWine just whips out the veto pin, but it doesn't help when you have people like Captain Chrome Dome that are standing in the way. So let's give this clip with Billy Cunningham and Nino a listen.
Tell the governor, let's come to us. We want to give the next health director 14 days, then come back to a legislative panel, and let's tell us what the facts are. Let's rule together. What does the governor say? Veto. No.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So the House passed a bill on contact tracing that says you must have written consent and must be voluntary. The Senate passed a bill that says you must have consent. Now theirs has a few little different things in it, but it's basically very similar. You must have consent to the person. You can't just do it. And yesterday at the conference, if you listen to the last 5 minutes of the tyrannical trio, what Amy Acton said, and Mike DeWine backed her up, they said, we have the authority to force contact trace you, and we will do it.
Logic sometimes doesn't find a home in the legislative process when ignorance kind of rules the day. And
So all the state representatives, all the senators that voted for it to be necessary to have written consent before these contact tracers snoop all through your life and rat you out, they're all stupid and ignorant, and according to Captain Chrome Dome, and logic can't prevail when ignorance rules the day. But I'm going to let him redeem himself. He's going to tell you one piece of good news, and just get ready, because he's going to drop what is, in my opinion, a bombshell.
This is part of the COVID response dollars that came out of Washington, D.C. It's important to note it was divided up two different ways. Larger cities, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, got bulk amounts to those municipalities. The balance is to be spread across the state. It's about $1.3 billion.
Did you hear what I just heard? I've been trying to get the answer to that for 3 weeks. I've emailed news outlets, called people, but he just told us $1.3 billion in the state of Ohio. I don't know if that's what's left over after the big city allocation, or if that's what the state of Ohio has to make do on, that measly little $1.3 billion. But folks, look, I'm not concerned about this from the standpoint of a fiscal hawk. I mean, I should be, but that is an awful lot of room for power and for corruption. And let me ask you, you know what this is all about? You know what this is? This is a program like this. Have you ever seen a government program ever in your lifetime ever go away? Ever fall off the books once it outlived its usefulness? Have you ever? Have you ever seen the government back up on any amount of control they exercise over your life? We're talking about putting people that are aligned with Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Chelsea Clinton. We're talking about people that are aligned with globalist, Marxist, that are going to be on our streets, knocking on our doors, calling on our telephones. And you see what I'm doing here? I'm trying to illustrate something. I'm not going to go too far with this, but I think you get the point. Well, I think you get the point. Hang around for episode number 2. It's going to be way different than this episode. There's a lot of information we're going to go through very, 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 very quick. Once again, I warn you, it's going to be scary, but I am going to give you just a brief little taste, and I'm going to show you what you can find if you just go to your own computer for, 5 minutes. But I've got a lot of Ohio-specific and United States-specific and world-specific information we're going to go through. And so we're going to take a look at that right now.
Okay, let's do this real quick. But folks, this isn't even a pinprick on the tip of the iceberg. But just to give you a little sneak peek here. Okay, you go to Google. You type in contact tracing. What do you see? Ad. Now, if I were to do that again, it'd come up with a different series of ads. Why? Because there is so much money on the table. Everybody is scrambling to get that contract, to get that next bid. So
This is an IT company where the teammates are having our safer bands, or our fine tags are worn by everyone at the workplace. Social distancing is alerted individually and can be alerted on our web app used by the authorized person. James and Emma are now in close proximity in the office. This has caused the fine tag to buzz and flash light, alerting not only James and Emma, but also the authorized person on his laptop. The solution is so smart that it can identify serial violators and alert authority.
Until next time, God bless you, God bless your family, God bless the state of Ohio, and God bless America.